Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for December 17th, 2025, the Holiday Bash edition of Dynamite. Plus, we had an hour of Collision. I'm not talking about the whole Collision episode. I'll be recapping the 2 hours of Dynamite, plus the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal that went into the third hour. Results are over on NoDQ.com, and I will discuss what happened for the rest of Collision since the spoilers were out earlier in the day. Dynamite aired on a tape delay. Dynamite took place in Manchester, England. One of the biggest crowds for Dynamite in quite some time. Over 10,000 fans in the building. Let's get to it. Dynamite started right with a match. We had Jon Moxley versus Roderick Strong, and this was a Continental Classic match. The loser would be out of the running to win the tournament. They would not be able to get enough points, which, even not knowing the spoilers, I feel like this would give it away. Jon Moxley's probably not going to be completely out of the running here, although in a storyline way, it might actually make sense, since if Moxley had nothing to lose or nothing to gain, maybe he would just go even more crazy. Who knows? Anyways, competitive match with the two of these guys. They brawled on the outside of the ring. They fought by the steel steps, and Strong slammed Moxley onto the steps, got him in the ring, took him down with a superplex, but then Moxley came back with a cutter, hit a pile driver. He went for a sleeper submission, but Strong was able to roll himself to the rope. And then Strong applied the Boston Crab. Moxley escaped that, hit the Paradigm Shift, and then hit the Death Rider and got the 1-2-3 victory. Moxley gets the 3 points, and Roderick Strong cannot win the Continental Classic. He is out of the running. So I guess it's just for a moral victory at this point for his remaining 2 matches or whatever he has left. Solid match. I'm hopeful that Moxley can move on to something else now. He really needs the babyface turn and get out of the Death Riders. We'll see. He did cut a promo during the third hour, which, as Dave pointed out, did not seem very heelish. We had a little backstage promo from Eddie Kingston talking about his loss from last week to Samoa Joe. He said he learned from it, and he will never stop. He will never quit. And he said maybe he'll face somebody on Collision. Poor Eddie Kingston, realizing he got his one big shot on Dynamite, and now it's back to Collision. We had Don Callis introducing Takeshita, Okada, and Hechicero, representing the Don Callis family against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. The Bucks had the old Elite song again. Takeshita and Okada were having some issues right out of the gate, and that allowed the Elite to build up some momentum. They did stereo dives to the outside, but then the Don Callis family regained control during the break. But after Omega and Okada went at it for a while, we had everybody in the ring. Okada and Takeshita were having issues again, and that allowed the Elite to take advantage again, and they hit the triple super kicks to Hechicero. Omega delivered the V trigger, and then the Bucks helped out and assisted One-Winged Angel. Hechicero gets pinned, and this was a $1 million match. I guess the Young Bucks and Omega get the $1 million. I'm over these $1 million, $500,000, $100,000, $10 billion matches. I'm over it. We had a post-match attack. Okada and Takeshita were back on the same page, but then things got heated again, and Omega came in with a broom and cleared the ring. He's the cleaner, so he's got the broom. Kind of silly if you ask me. And I'm ready for them to just get to the Omega versus Takeshita match. I agree with Matthew. They are really dragging this out. But the match was pretty good. We had our contract signing for the AEW World Championship. Samoa Joe, the champion, Hangman Adam Page, and Swerve Strickland in the ring with Tony Schiavone. Now, Samoa Joe talked for a bit, said he's going to leave as AEW World Champion. Then Swerve Strickland talked for a bit, talked about his history with both men. He signed the contract, and then Adam Page rambled for quite a bit. He was talking about how he was the one that got the job done against Moxley. He said that Samoa Joe is worse than the Death Riders. He said that Samoa Joe will not be leaving as champion, and he finally signed the contract. Schiavone wrapped things up, but then the lights went out, and when they came back on, it was the return of our favorite scumbag, MJF, saving the contract signing segment, which I usually do not care for, and until MJF showed up, I was kind of bored with this. Especially with Page. I felt like he was rambling. MJF came out there, and MJF was money in this promo. He officially cashed in his contract, which he has to do in advance now, that Casino Gauntlet from All In contract. He cashed it in, and he went to town on the microphone. He said he is actually a star, unlike Seabiscuit, Cowboy Page. He said he needs to hurt the Cowboy by taking the title in a match that also has two of Page's biggest rivals. He's going to do it in one fell swoop, so Page and his fans have no excuses. He brought up Samoa Joe, how Joe beat him for the title and how fans turned against MJF after that moment. He said that he needs to go down as an all-time great, and that's why Sloppy Joe's luck as champion is going to run out. MJF said that Joe is going to fall back harder than his hairline. Then he turned his attention to Swerve Strickland. He compared Swerve Strickland to P. Diddy, and the crowd definitely found that to be a shocking line. And then MJF said that he became the biggest homegrown star in AEW while Swerve went to WWE. Crowd booed WWE, but MJF said, hey, they're a perfectly good company. And MJF said he did enjoy watching Swerve twerk for top dollar. He said that now Swerve is in AEW, Swerve is in his way, but it's MJF's house, rent is due, and the devil is coming to collect. I loved it. I'm so happy MJF was back. Normally, I would give a contract signing a letter grade down, but I'll actually give it a letter grade up this week because MJF was so awesome. He needs to win the title. It's a four-way. Anything can happen, but man, they got to strap the rocket to MJF. He is the guy. To me, he's far and away the best promo. Outshined everybody in that ring on the mic. And he came back with a fire under his ass. And I hope to see more of this MJF. At 9:20, guess what we had? We had our women's match for the Dynamite portion of the 3-hour block. We had Marina Shafir, Megan Bayne, Athena, and Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion and still has a bunch of titles, against Toni Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Willow Nightingale, and Harley Cameron. Willow and Harley, keep in mind, you're brand new women's tag team champions. Pretty standard match in the beginning. Heels had the advantage. Then Toni Storm came in with the hot tag. She did the hip attack to Marina Shafir, but Athena was able to prevent Storm Zero. And then we had things breaking down. Mercedes got hit with the pounce from Willow. However, Athena came off the top with the O-face, and Mercedes pinned Willow Nightingale, which I do not like, and I will tell you why. I don't think the new tag team champions should be losing this quickly. I'm generally not a fan of champions losing in non-title matches unless they've been dominant for a while and they've had a pretty good run. Then I think you can have somebody win a non-title match to establish them as number one contenders. But this, literally a week after winning the titles, I'm not a fan, I have to say. I don't think they should have booked this. Think Tony Khan messed this one up. And Mercedes certainly doesn't need the win. You had Willow and Harley winning the titles last week, and now they get beat. And also a loss is a loss, so Tony and Mina take another loss. I don't know. I wouldn't have booked this particular match, but I guess they wanted to get as many women on the card as possible. Next up, we had Pac versus Kyle Fletcher in another Continental Classic match. Another really good match. Fletcher always is on point in these matches. They were evenly matched. Fletcher did this avalanche belly-to-belly suplex and then a half-and-half suplex on the floor. But then after the commercial break, Fletcher rolled to the outside after both men collided, and Pac delivered this moonsault. And back in the ring, Pac built up some momentum. He applied the brutalizer, but Fletcher was able to get his foot on the rope. And then Pac did the running lariat. Fletcher kicked out of that. And then Fletcher came back with a brain buster, but Pac kicked out of that. Pac regained the advantage, and he did an avalanche reverse Hurricane Rana, and then came off the top with the Black Arrow and got the win in England. So a nice pop for Pac, beating Kyle Fletcher, and he gets the points in the Continental Classic. Fletcher loses 2 matches in a row after beating Okada, but he could still win the whole thing. That's how this tournament goes. Like, ultimately, 1 loss or even 2 losses isn't the end. Unless you're Roderick Strong, then you're screwed. We had our final match of the Dynamite portion, although it really went into the 3rd hour. So, I mean, you could consider this Collision. I'll talk about it because it was an important match as far as setting up next week. It's the annual Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. You had the Demand jumping Brodito before the match even got started. The thing about this match, though, was that it wasn't like your normal Battle Royal. You had guys just going under the bottom rope or the middle rope, and they were fighting on the floor. And then you had a bunch of guys just sitting there as like 2 or 3 guys wrestled in the ring. I get it, because when you have like 15 guys in a Battle Royal, it could be a little bit of a train wreck, but that's a Battle Royal. When most of the guys are just sitting on the floor, like, what fun is that? It's not really a Battle Royal. I don't know. But anyways, you had the Acclaimed in there. They were working together, but then Ricochet eliminated Max Caster. And after the commercial break, it came down to the Demand and Brodito. Brody eliminated Toa Leona, but sent himself over the top in the process. And then Bandito got rid of Bishop Khan, and that left just Ricochet and Bandito. So the match was stopped, and it was confirmed that the 2 of them will face next week for the Dynamite Diamond ring, or the chance to face MJF for it. I'm not even sure how it works at this point. People were thinking MJF might have returned in this match, but he's in the world title match, which I'm very happy about. I think that's the right call. I don't really care who wins this Dynamite match. If they're facing MJF, though, I would expect Brodito to win, so you have the face versus the heel. Yeah, the match was all right, but again, I think if you're doing a Battle Royal, you should have all the guys in the ring, even if it's a little bit of a train wreck. Now, real quick, I'll talk about the other matches. Orange Cassidy defeated Máscara Dorada in a Continental Classic Blue League match. No surprise there. I mean, I figured Orange Cassidy would win that one. Jamie Hayter defeated Isla Dawn, and after the match, Triangle of Madness attacked Hayter. Chris Statlander came out there to help, and she posed with her championship. Then we had the AEW tag team titles up for grabs. FTR beating the Bang Bang Gang. No surprise there. I don't expect FTR to lose until Adam Copeland and Christian are back. And that was the 3-hour block. They got another show on Saturday. That airs at a random time. And then Dynamite next week also, I think, will be starting at like 6 p.m. Eastern for Christmas Eve. So all in all, I thought this was a good show. It was taped, but the Manchester crowd was pretty hot. It was a fun atmosphere. It looked good on TV. The matches were solid. You know, it's the usual, the Continental Classic matches. So they're good, but it's not ultimately my cup of tea. To me, the highlight was definitely MJF coming back. That segment, I think, was must watch. Go out of your way to see it. And I hope he wins the title. I am going 6 out of 10. Good show. Good for a tape show. Not at the level of last week, but it was pretty solid. It was a pretty solid episode of Dynamite. And I did have a few issues with it, like the finish of the women's 4-way or 8-way match. 8-woman tag team match. Didn't really care for that too much. But yeah, I did enjoy Dynamite overall. Shout out to Dave Scheffler, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Dave. Dave says Pac's finish reminded me of WWE's Neville. Well, I mean, Pac equals Neville. They're the same guy, and you know, he did those kind of moves in WWE, the same move off the top. He just has the different gear now, which I'm not really a big fan of. I prefer the old look with the long hair, but I guess he felt like he had to change things up, which I get. You know, after a while, you do need to try something different and evolve your character a little bit. So credit to him for trying, but I don't really like the look personally. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for this week with AEW. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back Friday night for a SmackDown recap, and then I'm not sure when I'll be on again other than the No DQ review, since we got the Christmas tape shows coming up. But we will have another No DQ review coming up next week, and then, of course, SmackDown on Friday. So tune in for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your continued viewership and support. Say yes to NoDQ.com. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all next time.